So today's plan is to work out what's going on with the brakes. They seem to be braking more at the rear. So I've got rear drums, front discs. As Firebirds came from factory, they're 75mm calipers on the front, which is pretty large, and your normal 3/4 on the back drum cylinders, which is less large. There is a bit of an issue that it seems like the rear drums are braking first, and there's too much travel potentially on the fronts, because you've got to move quite a lot of fluid to move those 75mm calipers. I have already made a change to one of the masters on the back, which may have helped a bit. I'll explain in a second. And I've had another master cylinder to try. It is a little bit of a trial and error with these things. You've basically got the pressure that the pedal delivers on the cylinders, and you've got the travel, and it's a balancing act between the two and balancing the front and the rear. So it's not really an exact science. Currently we have a 3/4 clutch on the right. We've got 7/8 front in the middle, and we've got a 3/4 rear on the left. I did have 5/8 on the left, which is now on the bench. It's my old 5/8. These are about 80 quid each, so I'd rather not keep buying them, to be honest, but there we are. I've also maxed out the bias bar on the pedal box, which is difficult to show you, but I have also got this bias valve, which is just connected to the rears, so it restricts the rears, and that is maxed out as well, and it just about brakes with the front now. So what I think we need to do is to install this guy, which is a 1-inch, which is bigger obviously than a 7/8. I think I've been arguing with ChatGPT because it was telling me to put 1-inch on the back, which I do not think is appropriate. So I'm going to put the larger one on the front, and I'm thinking that will firm up the pedal on the front. We'll get more engagement sooner on the front discs. I might revert to the 5/8. The problem with the 5/8 is that the pedal will be longer, but the pressure to the rears will be greater, which is not what we want. We want the pressure to be about mixed, and I can tune it with the bias valve. This will reduce the pressure on the front, which means I have to press the pedal harder, but it will move more fluid and move the caliper pistons sooner. So I think that's the way to go. So, right, first up, we're going to remove. I'm going to do a fluid delete. If I can open it, there we go. So, new master. I'm going to leave that on for a minute so I don't get dirt in it. The hardest part about this is threading this into the pedal box. It's such a pain, but that's just the way it is. So let's get this guy fitted. Alright, I started it off and bolted the master in. Now, what we need to do, I've dropped the column so I can get a bit more access. And you may be able to see that little knuckle there is where the front master connects to push rod, and then the rear is that one there, and the balance bar here is adjustable, which alters the force applied to each. Currently it's maximum to the front. It's occurred to me actually I could tune the length of the push rods so that the front engages earlier, potentially. I might have to do some research and play around with that. That might be useful. So for the minute I'm going to equalise them and make sure the pedal is at a decent height, and then we need to start thinking about how to, well, we need to connect it up and then bleed it. So I'm just putting some silicone grease around there. Okay, put our reservoir back on without destroying the seal, hopefully. Looks good. Ideally, I would bench bleed this. Well, that's going to fit. Oh, it does. Okay, good. The hose. Stick him on there. We need a cable tie. I prefer it when it doesn't do that. Let's just knock that off. So now we really want to do this one. Wind that up a bit. Undo Mr. Bleed valve. Just a bit of kitchen roll. Let's see if there's any leakage. Never easy, is it? I'm going to change this for a banjo bolt and a hose, so it's not the end of the world, but and we are dry. Excellent. Alright, brakes are bled, which is a bit of a pain in the arse on this because we've got independent master cylinders, we've got to do both front and back on each side at the same time, which is, yeah, pain. Anyway, so we've got a nice firm pedal now. Can't press that any harder. Yeah, that's promising at least. I guess we'll see. So I need to do a couple more jobs and then we'll take it for a drive and do some skids probably. So I've just replaced the oil pressure sender. This is, I think, a knockoff VDO. I thought it was genuine, but it's not. As you can see, I've tried to earth it, thinking that perhaps the earth was the problem. Don't think it was. It shoots up to 10 bar occasionally for reasons best known to itself, so that's going in the bin. I did replace it with this, which is a genuine VDO, but as a numpty I didn't read the description properly, and this one doesn't have a idiot light, it's only got a gauge pin. So you have one pin for the gauge and one pin for an earth. Bit annoying. So I bought another one of these. Looks practically identical, but it does gauge and idiot light. I do need an idiot light because I am an idiot. So anyway, that is done. Next up, we've got a genuine VDO oil temperature gauge, which I like because it tells me when the engine's warm enough for me to give it some abuse. And what we're going to use is this guy, which is it replaces the blank for the oil cooler. Currently there's just a very small version of that without 2 holes in it. So I've got an oil temperature sender, water and oil, same thing, I think. So that's going to go in there. I've had to clearance it with a Dremel, which you might be able to see, so that this actually goes in far enough. And it does come with a couple of bungs, which I'll have to find to bung that up. I was going to use that hole as a pressure gauge, but it's just simpler to buy the proper sender. So I'll find the bung and I'll show you where this goes. Alright, so the blank or flake we're replacing is that guy there. That would usually be coolant hoses, not coolant hoses, oil cooler hoses. So that is 10mm, I think. A bit difficult to get to with the headers. Oil's going to go everywhere, I think, so we need a pan under it. That's him off. Just a bit of oil coming out on the on this one that comes with the Holly pan. You get a little gasket, but on the Chinesium Special we have an O-ring. So I just get a bit of oil on that. I think I'll clean that up a bit, and we'll just put him back on. Right, that's how that's going to go. In hindsight, I should have put the cable on before fitting it, but never mind. So I need to make sure that doesn't leak, so I'll start the car in a sec. I think I'll put the wire on first so I don't burn myself again. Yeah, so I'm going to have to go and find a bit of wire. Fuel gauge is in and wired. I've 3D printed myself a little panel down here. I'm going to change the design a little bit so it's a bit easier to see. And I know it's blue, it's because it's just well, partly because it's a prototype and partly because I run out of black PLA. So version 2 of that will be on its way. There's been a couple more updates since you last saw it, I expect. So I've moved the rev counter because it was under here and I couldn't see it. I've moved the fuel pump primer to there. We've got fan switch, don't think I showed you that before, so I can override the fan. And we've got the bias bar connected to this knob here, so one way makes it bias towards the front and vice versa. So it's kind of coming together in here really. The other thing that's happened is that you'll notice there's a big panel missing from under here, and some nice person actually donated one to me. Thanks, Canon, you legend. So I've covered that, and that looks much nicer. It just screws in from the bottom. So I'll stick that back in as well. Brilliant. Alright, next job on the list is to solve this problem. No shutio properly. I believe that it's a hinge issue. And you can actually see the hinge bush in there is broken. You see how it's over to the left? So I reckon that's my problem. As for how to fix it, I'm not quite sure. We've got another one down there, which actually looks okay, surprisingly. I have a kit which has various size bushes. It looks like that one's just fallen out or broken and come out. So what I'm going to do, I think, is jack the door up and see if I can get that out. See what it looks like. So that's the kit I bought. I believe it's a genuine GM one, which will do both doors. And you get a load of different sized bushes, presumably so if you need to drill it out.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
You can. And the actual pins all look the same. I'm going to assume that the top one I'm looking at is in like that, so I need to smack it downwards. Let's have a go at that. Door is supported on a jack. I think it has actually moved the pin a little bit. It's not loose in any way. Let's smack it with a hammer and see what happens. Right, I think I've learned something. So I had to hit this pretty hard to make it move. And eventually when it did move, this became loose and a spring came out. Now I didn't buy a spring compressor, which might have been a mistake. I can still buy it, but let's get this pin out anyway, and then we can see how difficult it's going to be to put that together. Alright, pin is out, safety screwdriver is in. Pin looks fine really, it's a bit worn, but it's probably just the bushes on here, isn't it? How do we get the bushes out? I don't know. Right, looking at the new bushes, there's a little hat on it, so that means surely that the hinge has to come off, which I did not realise. That is a pain because I've got no one to help me get the door off and on again. I also don't particularly want to take the wings off. Possibly should have googled this before I started it. Well, the answer seems to be to remove the 3 bolts that holds the door side of the hinge on, and then remove it somehow. I can see that there is another bush in there, so I do need to do this anyway. There we go. Now get it out with one hand. There we go. Okay. So those are the bushes, which are probably just going to come out now with a bit of persuasion, maybe. Oh, they're buggered. Look at that. Absolutely knackered. Okay, fine. Well, I'll pull those out. That shouldn't be too difficult with a screwdriver, and then we'll see what size we need to put back in. Right, so the bushes they've given me in the kit measure between 10.64 and 10.66 millimeters. I'm going to assume that's just a tolerance, because 0.01 of a mil is absolutely nothing. So I don't think it matters which I use. I might use the larger ones on the driver's side, just because it's going to get more use. It'd be better if they're a bit tighter. The other ones, these ribbed ones you get, are 12.5 mil, so that means you need to drill it out. I don't want to do that, so unless they're oval shaped, I'm not going to. I don't think they are, because it looked like the bushes just broke recently. So I'll use these for the driver's side, save those for the passenger when I do that. So let's try and get these guys in. Right, so this top one may go in if I press it. I might actually use one of the smaller ones, but bottom hole is humongous, so that is clearly not right. How did this go? goes like that. So that means that the 12 mils must go in that hole there. Right, I think I worked it out. So the 10.64 mil has slotted in nicely in the top, and I've had to hammer in the 12.5 mil with the teeth on it on the bottom. So I think I can just put this back together now, and it will be good. Alright, so apart from the spring, that is back together. There's a plate in here that receives these bolts, and it moves around. So thanks for that, whoever designed that. You twat. Anyway, let's see if it actually closes now. I haven't got the spring back in, because I'm just going to buy the tool for that rather than risk maiming myself. I like my fingers non-crushed. So what we're going to do now is, oh right, wow, it didn't drop anyway. Still don't shut. There we go. So the rubbers are new as well, which is the other reason it wasn't shutting properly. But I had to kind of lift it to make it shut. So I think I'm happy with that. So I'm not going to do the bottom one. I can't make the door move. Can't lift it, so it's perfectly secure. I think it was just the bushes at the top. I might do the passenger side. I have to move the car around first. But I think actually, I'll see if I can lift the door. If there's any play in it, then I'll change it. If there's not, then I won't. But that shuts much nicer than it did before, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm going to call that job jobbed. So a few things have been happening off camera as well. First off, the lower panel here, I've screwed it into the wings. Really, I need to make some brackets and weld them on, but it's a bit hot for that at the moment. I've also adjusted the tracking, but looking at it, I don't think I've done a brilliant job, which is quite annoying. That one looks like it's steering left. And that one might be going left as well, actually. Might not be too bad. I'll drive it and see. I need a better way of doing alignments. The little boards I've bought, a bit of shit. I'm really loath to take it to a alignment place and pay 100 quid for them to do very little, but they've got the machinery, I suppose. We'll see. The other thing I've done is grease the bushes on the top A-arms because they were squeaking like you wouldn't believe. So they're not squeaking anymore, which I'm happy about. I'll take it for a drive in a minute and see how that's all done. Wheels are on and torqued up. Yeah, things are coming on, I think. Things are coming on. This front nose cone jobby really bothers me, the fitment on it. I'm going to have to do something about that at some point. I still think that it's buckled, but yeah, we'll come back to that. Right, let's go for a drive and see if I fix the brakes. So far so good. The brakes actually feel like they're doing something now. I can still lock the rears pretty easy, so the bias is maxed out to the front, and the restrictor valve in the engine bay is actually pretty much maxed out to the front as well, or max restriction to the rear rather. But it does feel a bit safer now. it does stop, and it's not locking the rears quite so much. So I think that's going to do for now. Not sure what the long-term solution will be, but that'll be fine. Oh, my oil temperature gauge, I don't think that's right. I think 50 is probably a bit low, so maybe that sender is the wrong sender, or potentially broken, so I might have to change that. We're currently sitting at just over 90 degrees on the water temp. The car's been running for a while, so I'm not sure I believe that, but anywho, I think that'll do for now. So thank you all for watching. Do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.